Money Show. I'm Taylor Riggs, along with my co-host, Lou Bassanies, Jerry Willis, and also joining us for the hour, Luke Lloyd, President and CEO of the Lloyd Financial Group, and Fox Business host, David Asman. So fun to have you all here. When you have a $9 trillion balance sheet, when the Fed has effectively kind of restarted QE this month, so a gain is a gain, a win is a win, look at the scoreboard. But if it's disconnected from fundamentals or propped up by a Federal Reserve, does that tamper down some of the excitement around it?
I don't think so. And everything Jerry was hitting on was liquidity. It was just talking about liquidity, lower taxes, more money in people's pockets, more corporate profits at the end of the day with maybe some AI and other things going on. That just is liquidity. So you can have the conversation, what's real money, what's fake money. It's money. And as long as liquidity remains strong in the system, stocks remain strong, the economy remains strong. But I do want to preference this, that the economy is not the stock market. So when I'm talking, usually, I'm talking about the stock market. I'm talking about equity prices. And every morning we track liquidity in the system. So look, no one likes a nerd. I learned that very early on when I was valedictorian in high school. It doesn't make you popular, but I am going to nerd out here very quickly.
Are you?
Right? It was very easy, right? But look, SOFR minus the IOR, which is the secured overnight financing rate minus the interest on reserve balances, is about to go negative. Okay, and when that happens, that means the banks lend out more money. Okay, when that happens, it's typically bullish. Junk spreads right now, triple B bonds, are really tight, really the lowest they've been in 3 years. That's extremely bullish for liquidity. Then M2 money supply, a new stat just came out recently, rose 4.3% year over year, a record $22.3 trillion on M2 money supply. We have basically record liquidity, so anytime people talk about the AI bubble, it's not an AI bubble. It's a liquidity bubble, but there's no such bubble until it bursts, right? So keep the game going, keep the Ponzi going until it doesn't. On the recent sell-off, the 7% top to bottom correction, we added some higher beta names. One of the names was CoreWeave, which actually uses cloud to train all these models with the chips. So I'm actually pretty bullish on that side of the equation. I think that could open up.
The woman who usually sits in your chair is not a fan of CoreWeave.
She wasn't a fan of me last time.
I'm going to let her
Lesser
speak
fan
for
of
herself.
Bad wins, difficulty. And they're the first ones when inflation goes up, they feel it first. They don't have big lines of credit necessarily. What do you make of this story?
I think that they actually can weather it better this time around. The reason being is I think the large corporations have eaten small businesses' lunch for a while, ever since COVID, when we printed all that money and all the money went to the top. And really, this is a socialism versus capitalism question at the end of the day. Capitalism unlocks wealth for everybody, as David was saying. So I think this is actually the most bullish time in recent history for small businesses. Now, the caveat to this is it's not, when you talk about the wealth separation, if you're a business owner, I think you're going to partake in that wealth separation, whether you're large or small. The problem is the workers, okay? If we look throughout history, everyone studies American history. No one goes deeper into world history, Dutch Empire, Roman Empire, British Empire. Anytime any of these empires became more state-controlled and more socialistic, it always ended badly. What's happened the past 50 years since we got the 1971 gold standard? We basically borrowed for the future and got into tons of debt. So my point is, you look at government jobs being created the past 4 or 5 years, we're more state-controlled than ever, really, at this point in time. We're trying to undo some of that stuff, but if you want to partake, you have to get invested in the stock market or open a business.
I think this is the best time to open a business. You really are a valedictorian. Taylor?
I'm a little bit
for this holiday season. That's a whopping amount, right? So it makes sense that companies are to combat fraudulent returns. What do you think of this, Luke? Do you think this is something that could actually hit the investment case of potential retailers?
Yes. The answer is yes to everything. Because I've said this before, because every company is an AI company now. Kind of like during the internet and all this, technology revolutions we've had in history before. All these companies get to utilize this. So every company is becoming a technology company. It's going to help them with margins, profits. I mean, how many billions of dollars is probably costing these firms on a yearly basis when it comes to fraud, right? So I think that's important. But I was actually over the holidays watching Miracle on 34th Street, the 1947 movie, and in the background, the old school one, in the background, I was really observing the fact that General Motors was in back of the parade. And it made me think, what was happening in 1947? Well, you have the automobile revolution kind of 20 years or so in, now more accessible, everyone can use it. And what was also benefiting around automobiles? Well, ExxonMobil was one of the largest companies at the time. General Motors was the highest revenue company. You have ExxonMobil, which the old school was like Standard Oil, but ExxonMobil was the big at the time. And then you also have U.S. Steel benefiting from the automobile revolution. So all this is spreading out. Every technology like the automobile is spreading out throughout the system as a whole, and every company is utilizing it and are going to benefit from it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to The Miracle on 34th Street. That movie explains capitalism. I mean, look what happened to Macy's when they opened it up or recommended, hey, go over to the other store. It actually got them more business. So I'm on that side where I think actually taking returns and not causing a stir is actually going to benefit those corporations, because I think people will look badly on the corporations charging fees. I think you can incorporate that into your cost of doing business. I think that's the way you do it.
By the way, It's a Wonderful Life is a pretty good movie for explaining a portion of capitalism too, in terms of S&Ls and everything.
Another
Open bar and a big nightlife and actually still drink on New Year's Eve.
Well, I think you keep it all online. I think the younger generations, the best way to describe what's going on is content fatigue or dopamine fatigue. I think by the end of the week, when you're done scrolling on your phone and looking at your laptop all week, I think you kind of just want to turn it off and relax. I think that's generally what's happening. Look, David, I think compromise, you said you and your wife compromise. I think that's a really good way I've learned that 1.5 years into being married. You compromise is a good thing. I think that life is about balance, and a lot of younger people are looking for balance. And I think that if you are dopamine fatigue, you want to relax. If you aren't dopamine fatigue, you might want to do the New Year's in New York, like my wife does eventually. Wow. She wanted to come with me to this trip and stay. She also, though, had to stay home with the dog, and also she wanted to spend time with her family for Christmas because she didn't get time with her family. So next year, maybe she will do that. But I think generally speaking, there's that separation, like not only in the economy and markets, but separation of fatigued or not.
All right.
And his cash hoard can deal with that Waymo can't.
Elon's one of those guys you just don't bet against.
Yeah.
He's the best capitalist in history, in my opinion. Well, that's why the messaging finally was right about a week ago when Trump had his speaking engagement when he spoke. He was focusing on, look, this is real wage growth. We're not saying that you're perfect and you feel like you have all this money, but we are finally growing on a real wage growth basis compared to the past basically 4 or 5 years when we weren't growing. It comes down to the GDP number. I think that tells you basically everything you need to know. Now, does this set a higher bar for next year? Absolutely. Next year has to come in good, because if you have all this GDP growth, 4.3% year over year, that means we have to even hit the hurdle even more next year. And when it comes to the GDP number, I look at Trump as basically Reagan on steroids. He's a Reagan 2.0, lowering taxes. We're still giving out checks to the veterans. We're maybe giving out tariff checks. We're printing still money. So all of this is so beneficial to the overall liquidity I was talking about in the first segment to the economy, which just keeps everything going on a extreme basis.
Are you confident that after this economy, your take?
Yeah, so we're pretty bullish on almost all of the commodities. We own gold through the ETF. We own Newmont Mining, which is actually one of our best performers this year. And copper specifically actually is getting more attention from our end as well, because people don't realize about 15 to 30 tons of copper is used in each data center that's built out. So when you're building thousands of data centers, that adds up. Now, $12,000, I think, a ton. So it's about $400,000 to $500,000 of copper every time one of these build up. So if that's projected, I think copper is going to be one of the most undervalued stories in the next few years. Now, the problem with that, real quick, is you can't store copper in your basement. You can't store a ton of copper like
What about
gold.
my bathtub?
That's the problem for the
I'm trying to
average
get a barrel
person,
of
right?
oil in my bathtub. People would be absolutely more open to having this in my backyard.
Energy stocks have generally actually been doing really good so far, even with lower prices. Usually sometimes there's a disconnect there. I'm going to go back to kind of the area I grew up in, Martins Ferry, Ohio, all coal mine and steel mills. I'm going to say something like Trump says, I think, beautiful, clean coal. I think, a lot of these ancillary areas, whether it's coal, oil, or nuclear energy, are still areas you want to focus on as we head into 2026. And, there's all these utilities are sexy. They're not boring anymore because of the electricity demand. The commodities we talked about, copper, gold, silver, platinum, all of these rare earth metals, all of this goes into this build out. That's why when everyone just focuses on NVIDIA, Palantir, and these AI names, or the just data centers directly, whether it's CONE and these other names, there's all these other areas that haven't really been played. And I think those are the areas money's going to flow into over the next year.
These are the first and second derivative plays in there.
You play it from the commercial side first. first, right? Like Teradyne or something.
Or
like that.
Symbotic.
Stock we own, exactly. I just can't wait to get into an argument with a robot. That's just on the horizon. I know it. I'm going to be arguing back and forth. It's not going to be
Well,
fun.
there are those reports from The Sun 4 days ago saying that one word from Xi and that robot made in China turns on you and punches you. It's a Trojan horse.
Wait, we don't want that, but it would, if I had one named Astro that I could just say, hey, Astro, go in there and give me a cold Stella and bring it into me while I'm watching the Commanders game, I'll sign up for that guy.
Traded like Meta.
I think
like
they're going to get
Snap.
scrutinized, and I think it's going to become a political issue at some point down the road, just like AI is going to become a political issue if something's happened there with jobs or whatever it be. I think they have to watch out for it. And I'm glad we're talking about this because I was very conscious of this over the holidays, spending time with my family, because I am on my phone so much, and I really want to be present. I only see my parents probably 4 times, 5 times, maybe a year at this point. So every time is precious with them. And I'm kind of maybe scared to say this, but I have a thought when it comes to social media and with the phones in general, how much time we spend on it. I go to church every Sunday. I'm Catholic, but the best way logically, from a science standpoint, for me to explain, if I had to kind of think about maybe what heaven or the other side looks like, is there's data that suggests that the last 10 minutes when you pass away, 10 minutes after you pass away, your mind constantly goes through the memories that play, because you don't know how long that feels afterwards, right? And the best way I can describe heaven or the other side is if you're playing a lot of memories, and a lot of good memories, that's heaven.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Playing a lot of bad memories, that's the other side. But what if your memories are on your phone? What
We
if it's
need a-
not
we need
actually
a
living
neural
with
link
your
that just
parents or
downloads
your
it right
kids?
into our head.
That's what I'm concerned about, is all these memories people are having are the phones.
Once more and might find himself off air.
Look, I always, again, I'm sorry to bring up history all the time, but I go back
good.
250 years ago, which we're about to celebrate 250 years of America. We basically, what sparked the Revolutionary War was a 1% T-tax. Look, Donald Trump's actually, in the whole kind of system right now, is the most trying to unreverse things than it's been in a very long time when it comes to getting government out of our business in a lot of ways. Are property taxes tyranny? Paying the government is tyrannical. Paying income taxes was only a thing it wasn't a thing over basically 150 years ago. It was 100 years as a nation that we had income taxes. My point is it's not a person issue. It's a government intervention issue, and Donald Trump's doing the most he can to reverse that right now in a lot of ways. And I think that's the most important thing to think about.
It is time now for our Ask Us Anything segment. We put out posts all week asking for your best questions, and our loyal viewers delivered. First up, when are your Christmas presents opened? Christmas Eve or Christmas morning?
So in the Jenkins household, forever and ever, you can open one present on Christmas Eve and then the rest on Christmas morning.
Christmas morning.
One on Christmas Eve or when Amazon delivers them.
You mean when Santa delivers
No, if my
them?
wife gives me permission, she said, hey, do you want to see your Christmas present? I'll take it.
I actually judge people that open them Christmas Eve. It's Christmas morning, unless you have family matters for some reason.
Traditional.
Ours is the same. One on Christmas Eve, it's always matching jammies, and then the rest is Christmas morning. All right, next up. What is something that you bought that's basically useless, but you love it?
I feel like I do that every year, but this year it was a Labubu because everybody was in. So I bought a Labubu, and
Are those the new Beanie Babies?
Exactly. And
crash in
apparently the
value.
resale is valuable, but I went out and bought one for myself, one for Rachel Campbell Stuffy, and one for Charlie Hurt to give them because it was a popular toy. It's sitting on my desk. I don't know what to do with it, but I got a Labubu.
My
That's hard to
answer
top.
is so bad compared to that. Believe it or not, one of David's gifts, my husband's gifts, was tinned smoked fish. So salmon
In a
and
tin?
mackerel, and
Yeah.
it's really healthy.
Yep.
I know that's
My
bad.
husband sounds like your husband.
Boring.
I've had time to think, and I can't come up with anything except maybe the new workout program that's online that I'm not going to use. It's going to sit in my inbox.
You have GLP-1s. It doesn't matter.
Everyone knows how kind of energetic I am. I don't need energy, so my espresso machine. I didn't need it, but sometimes it's useful.
Mine's similar. This party tray, but we don't really entertain, and so it kind of is just useless. This is my favorite one. What winter activity do you like to participate with your families?
Snowboarding. As a surfer, if I can't go surfing, well, the East Coast doesn't have great slopes, but you can pretty much snowboard anywhere. So bring on the snow and let's go put on the snowboards.
Sitting by the fire, having a glass of wine.
That's an activity.
I like that one. I like skiing.
Absolutely.
Wheeling, West Virginia has a big light show, so we always go with my family over to
That's
Wheeling
sweet.
for the light
Oh,
show.
wow.
Mine was skiing too, and RFK Jr. and Howard Lutnick were on the slopes with their families this weekend together, doing a whole Maha ski act. Skiing burns like 100 calories a run, I heard. It's like a legit workout.
Because
I
you're
love it.
scared to death. You think you're going to die.
doing
This
a
is
good
why I
little
don't do it.
Tap and turn, Jerry. That's all you need. All right, our last one. Who was your silliest or craziest or maybe most memorable teacher and why?
Oh gosh, quickly, mine would be Dr. Michael Gunn, my Memphis University School, all boys high school algebra teacher. He was the best, the coolest, the funniest.
Cool.
And then even as we went to college and got older, we'd come back. At that point, we'd be old enough to drink, and he would meet us at the bar when we were over 21 and hang out, wanting to know what our lives were like.
Mine was Miss Hale, who I'm still in touch with, who was my drama teacher, and I loved her very much and still do.
Don't remember his name, a UF physics professor that said retention starts at 80%, within 15 minutes it's 20%. So he would do something to jar you back to attention, including lighting fireworks in the middle of a lecture hall.
Love that.
In high school, my Spanish teacher would play a song to Bonita, and it was a song about, pretty, right? So I can call my wife pretty now in Spanish, which
How
is cool. And in
sweet.
college, Professor Drew, my Spanish teacher was Mr. Libertor, and in college was Professor Drew Bell, who slugged, he was a business teacher, ethical teacher. He would slug us with a slug or weasel if we were unethical. So very unique with the cards he had.
Mine